Welcome to this slightly longer video which deals with the spotting procedure and then the combat process between the Nightfighter and the Luftwaffe bomber. After the GCI and AI approach, your Nightfighter should now be in the position to attack the Luftwaffe bomber. But before you attack, you must successfully spot and visually identify what your target is. After all, it's considered extremely bad form to go around shooting other RAF night fighters. The first thing to do is to note the current phase of the moon and weather conditions. We're flying with a quarter moon and clear, good weather conditions. Our spotting skill is 3. Our target has an evade skill of 1. So now we consult the table to see what difference the phase of the moon and the weather conditions will have to our spotting skill. The quarter moon makes no difference, but the clear weather gives us a +3 task easier. Spotting skill of 3 plus 3 task easier equals 6 versus 1 for the evade skill for our bomber. So to successfully spot our target we need to roll 15 or less. We roll 7. So the next stage is to open fire. The first thing to do is to decide how long a burst you're going to use. The longest burst that you can fire is 4 seconds, and your drums only contain 8 seconds worth of ammunition. You have a reserve of a further 8 seconds. Looking at the chart for attack skill modifiers, our 2-second burst doesn't get us any modifiers at all, but because we're in a 6 o'clock position relative to the bomber, we get a +2 task easier. So looking at the bowfighter chart, I've removed the 2 seconds of ammunition I'm using, and I'm noticing that I've got an attack skill of 2. A quick reminder that our Heinkel has an evade skill of 1. Skill 2 plus 2 task easier equals 4, versus the HE skill of evade 1 gives me a chance of 13 or less. The roll that I use to see if I've been successful in my attack is also used to see whether my guns jam. You remember I've got a 2-second burst, so my guns will jam on a 19 or 20. I rolled 11, so my attack is a success and my guns haven't jammed. Now it's time to see how much damage I've done. I roll a d6 and I roll a 4. My 2-second burst doesn't give me any pluses, but because I'm in the 6 o'clock position when I fire and I haven't yet been detected, I get +1, giving me a result of 5. 5 means I score 3 hits. My first roll is a 4, and that gives me 1 damage on the tail. My second roll is a 5, so a random member of the crew has been hit. I'll roll the damage for that in a moment. And my third hit is another 4, and so I've now scored 2 hits on the tail. This means that if the tail takes any more damage, or if I fill the boxes for any other parts of the aircraft will spin down out of control. Rolling on the wounds table, I rolled a 4, and this means I've caused a random crew member a serious wound. I've rolled a d4 as there are 4 crew members plus the pilot in a Heinkel. Regardless of which crew member I hit, the -1 to all skill modifier applies to the whole aircraft. Once we start scoring hits on the bomber, its first reaction is going to try to evade. It rolls its evade skill versus your flying skill. This Heinkel has an evade skill of 1, we have a flying skill of 2. Before rolling, we need to look at the bomber evade modifiers. The bomber gets +2 task harder because we're attacking from the 6 o'clock position. So our flying skill of 2 plus 2 gives us a skill of 4. The bomber's active skill of 1 versus our passive skill of 4 means he has to roll 7 or less to evade. Unfortunately he rolls 11 and fails. The Heinkel has failed to evade. So we'll now try a spotting roll in order to return fire. The bomber has a spotting skill of 1. It gets +5 task easier because it was fired upon in this round, and +3 task easier for clear weather. 1 plus 5 plus 3 equals 9. but it also gets +2 task harder for being attacked from the 6 o'clock position, and +1 task harder for the serious wounded crew, which added to our Nightfighter evade skill gives 4. So the bomber has active 9 versus passive 4 and will need 15 or less to spot us. He rolls 7 and successfully spots. The bomber has an attack skill of 3 and gets no additional bonuses. However, he gets +4 task harder for the bomber firing versus a Nightfighter, and he gets +1 task harder for the serious wound on his crew member, so +5 to our evade of 1. So the bomber has active 3 versus our passive 6, so he must roll 7 or less to actually hit us. He rolls 9, so we're lucky on this occasion. Because we attack from the 6 o'clock position, we can keep pace with the bomber and can attack again immediately. If we'd attacked from any other clock position, we would actually have to repeat the AI approach phase. For this attack, I'm going to risk a 4-second burst. That means regardless of my chance to hit, if I roll a 17, 18, 19 or 20, my guns will jam. But this time I'm lucky. No jam, and I managed to hit my target. I add +1 for my 4-second burst. I roll 4 + 1, which gives me a result of 5, so 3 hits. I score 1 fuselage hit, 1 hit to the port wing. I hit the pilot, but it's only a light wound. There are no bombs on board, so unfortunately the plane doesn't explode. This time the bomber does successfully make his evade roll, and the last I see of him is he's diving away across the channel. I hope you found this video helpful, and I also hope that you have better luck with your Nightfighter sorties.